I feel like just because you know it exists and you're holding it doesn't mean it can't hurt you.
It's like, well, I have deactivated it with my thought power. Hello, and welcome to Saving People Queering Things, the supernatural podcast where no matter how hard we try, it always comes back to faith.
Today, we are pulling up to season 4 with episode 7. It's the Great Pumpkin, Sam Winchester.
I'm Abigail, one of your hosts. My pronouns are they, them. And my question for my co-host this week, besides giving us your name, is what is a Halloween costume you are most proud of?
Most proud of? Well, I'm Noah, pronouns he, him, and Halloween, I mean, in recent years, I've tended to lean into Spider-Man, and I like the Spider-Man suit.
You do a good Spider-Man.
It's always a fun Halloween costume, and gives you something to, okay, I'm just gonna leave it there. Thanks.
Nice.
I'm KJ. My pronouns are they and she, and my dad is more into Halloween than I am. I'm not a big Halloween costume put together, but one year my whole family were the Simpsons. So I was Lisa, my brother was Bart, my parents were Homer and Marge.
That's adorable.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Ironically, we all went our separate ways for Halloween that year, but it was a great costume anyways.
I'm Elayna. Pronouns are she, they, and mine is an easy answer because it's literally my picture on Zoom. It's like my profile picture. When I was 4 years old, I decided to be the Blue Power Ranger for Halloween.
Great choice.
Because who needs the gender binary when you're 4 years old? I certainly didn't. And yeah, love that costume. It's my fave.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Sam. My pronouns are she, her. And we didn't do a lot of Halloween stuff growing up because church and stuff. But I have really gotten into it as an adult.
Yeah.
And last year I was Edna Mode from The Incredibles.
Oh, it was so good. It looked so good. She had the expression down pat.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I got I got super into character. It was
that is delightful.
It's phenomenal.
I think my favorite was one that I did in high school where I did like a punk Spock costume. So I have like the Spock, I have like little like Spock ears, and I like did Spock but like punk, and it was very fun.
Brand.
Yeah, I haven't changed a lot in 10 years.
I was gonna say, is that not just your daily aesthetic?
Yes. Yes. But speaking of costumes, it is Halloween today. So if you are listening and you want to share with us your own
Thank you, Noah.
I was just doing background noise. I'm sorry. Keep going.
If you want to share your favorite costume from your childhood, from your adulthood, your costume, your dog's costume, whatever costume you have.
Or even your favorite supernatural cosplays, perhaps.
Yes, costume, cosplay. Everything we would love to see it. Send us.
If you dress your dog up for Halloween, you can send that directly to me at SBN Opinions on Twitter.
Just be sure to tag us in it, and we would love to see it. Yeah. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happier than this Halloween.
Certainly. This Halloween's a nightmare.
Oh, God.
But that leads us really naturally into, now that you've met all of us, if you haven't watched Supernatural recently, here is what you've missed on the road so far.
First up, we have Noah, who is going to be recapping the show so far. Are you ready, Noah?
Of course. Just give me a little countdown and I'm all good to go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so the two brothers, Dean's in hell. He comes back, saved by the beloved angel Cas, who loves him, gives him his mission to stop Sam from being evil. Sam and Dean are haunted by ghosts of their past. Dean transports through time. They go after a guy who starts eating his family members, and then they fight a shapeshifting monster movie guy. It's pretty cool. But now here they are. Dean was infected by a ghost, but now he's not.
You covered something from every single episode, and I'm very impressed.
It's well done.
Trying to figure out how to start was the worst part. Like summing up 1 and 2.
This is at least the second time that you have used the phrase "Cas our beloved" in the description. So
I mean, that's how we should address it at all times.
I just realized that. I was like, well,
this is honorarium. Is Cas our beloved?
That can be a recurring thing. That'd be great.
I would enjoy
I'm
that.
mad about that.
And now KJ is going to recap this week's episode. KJ, dear friend, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You've got this. All right, I'm going to count you in.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
It's Halloween. It's Sam's least favorite holiday, and Ashley Benson, whose character's name I don't remember, and her brother are witches. They're trying to raise Sam Hain, who's an ancient evil demon and will break one of the seals by rising. Cas and his colleague Uriel arrive and tell Sam and Dean that if they can't stop it, they're gonna smite the entire town. Sam goes against everybody's wishes, Dean, angels alike, uses his powers to exorcise/kill Sam Hain before any other damage is done.
Nice.
Yeah.
Then Cas has doubts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Big reveal.
we'll get there.
Okay, it is now time for us to pick some music to accompany us on our journey. We're collecting songs to create a season 4 mixtape, and here's what we have this week.
So I'm gonna go with a song by the Mountain Goats, one of my favorite bands. And then I'm gonna go with the song Romans 10 verse 9. It's from an album that's every song is titled with a scripture reference, and it's
Abigail, you're so John Green coded, and I love that for you.
oops. It's not inaccurate.
Every time I see the Mountain Goats, he's who I think of immediately.
Fair.
And confirm.
Yeah, and have been also, for like 10 years. So this song is all like about faith and about the concept of being saved, but also, sort of being doomed. And I thought that was really fitting, particularly for Sam in this episode, but it also kind of applies to Cas and the doubts he's having. Yeah, it's a great song.
Nicely done. My pick is I Want to Get Better by the Bleachers. Classic track. I don't know, it just kind of fit where I think Dean is coming back from hell and moving forward with Cas and Sam and trying to be a better version of who he used to be and who he was taught to be.
Love that. My pick for this week is Devil's Whisper by Rory. And mostly because it has this really like threatening, pulsing sort of chorus where it's like, you better run from the devil. And there's like these spooky voices just sort of underneath it. And it's a really good song. So it's sheerly for vibes, but that is my contribution to this week's mixtape.
My choice is not thematically going to fit here, but it's fine. It's my choice, and I'm standing by it.
Yeah, as you should.
I wanted something that was going to be like all like, I don't know, like religious doubt and like pressures of expectations. And then I was like, nope, I'm leaning into Halloween stuff. And I picked This Is Halloween from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh,
yes.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
Scream in the dead of night.
It is my favorite Halloween song. It's delightful. This episode is also delightful.
Oh, but hear me out. What if you use the lyric, please make way for a very special guy, and then you just play a clip of Cas? Great. You're welcome, everyone.
Elayna's made my thing better and less silly.
Yes. My choice is a song called Witch by Devin Cole. And it's just literally just a song about a witch.
I mean, fitting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, love that energy.
This is a great Halloween-esque vibes playlist.
Yeah, like this is like a nice little mini playlist just for Halloween.
Easy peasy.
Someone say this
Breezy,
word.
beautiful cover girl. Now that we've got our mixtape playing, it is time for the hunt of the week. Today's episode is going to be It's the Great Pumpkin, Sam Winchester, through the theme of loyalty.
I'm so excited.
Where shall we begin?
The last time I was here was also the theme of loyalty. This is a great extension.
Really?
Now you have to just be our official guest whenever we talk about
I
loyalty.
think you're the loyal guest.
Which is, I was going to say, very, very on par that
Also,
would be the theme.
mid-recording of that episode, I had a connection parallel that I thought of, and it's with this episode.
Oh, nice.
So
Wow,
it really
look at
did
that.
work out perfectly.
We love that.
What was the connection?
It's a thin connection, but that episode was Malice Maleficarum.
Ugh,
And that was the
love
episode
it.
where Dean met Ruby for the first time, and they met while they're hunting witches, and Ruby saved Dean from a hex bag. And in this episode, Sam and Cas meet for the first time, and Cas and Uriel saved them from a hex bag in their motel room.
Oh,
Wow.
that's a cool parallel.
It's It's almost like they parallel Cas and Dean with never mind. It's fine.
It's almost like these two things are related.
Size in jaded Destiel shipper.
What was the best representation of loyalty that you guys saw in this episode?
I think it's really interesting how Sam is struggling with loyalty in this episode because he's sort of torn between like loyalty to Dean and the promise he's kind of made to Dean to like, I'm not going to use my powers anymore, but also loyalty to all these people and to like the hunt and to like saving people. He's torn between those two loyalties, and it's interesting in this episode, I think.
This was a much harder loyalty one than 309. Significantly harder.
Well, I love the way that it subverts your expectation a bit, because if we're looking at it through the lens of loyalty and you start off the episode, it's like, we can say that the angels are being loyal to their cause. But then by the end, it's like, oop, they were actually being loyal to Dean. And Uriel didn't want to be. Uriel wanted to do his own thing, but Cas...
Which would have been not following orders from heaven, if, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Uriel hates humans enough that he was like he was going to be like, screw heaven a little bit.
Well, so that would show that he has doubts too, right?
But I think it's interesting because
doubts.
his whole thing is he hates humans so much. And that's why he wants to break the rules. Cas loves humans so much, and that's why he wants to break the rules. So it's a very interesting dynamic that the two of them have going this episode.
Like Uriel's feels more self-serving, and Cas's feels more like loyalty to the idea of humanity being a good thing.
I feel like that's how they ended up co-workers on this project. Somebody looked at the two of them and went, maybe they'll balance each other out.
Less likely this is going to go sideways if we put you two specifically on it.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat true, I guess. Sort of worked out, maybe. This wasn't like a traditional witch episode where a witch is mad at someone. Usually when witches are mad, there's a cheating element.
The witches are mad.
And they do play that out a little bit where they try and go that direction, at least as a little bit of a fake out.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that do die in this episode, first the husband, it's not a loyalty thing per se, but he tells his wife he's not going to touch the candy, and then he immediately sneaks the candy.
That's so twisted.
The second she walks out the room, he's like, yeah, I'm having candy.
Yeah, and then Jenny, and I think her name's Tracy, I don't know, I just see her and I just see Hannah Mann from Pretty Little Liars.
Yes.
Same, fair.
Oh, really?
So many little guest stars this
She's
episode.
one of the main Pretty Little Liars, so that's all I see.
She's one of the prettiest and smallest liars. No.
But she is clearly hitting on the same guy, that they're both competing for the same guy, and they're also clearly friends. There's a
John-Luc from Baby Daddy. Sorry, if we're going into guest stars, Baby Daddy guy, he's so small in this episode. Sorry.
But there is an element of disloyalty from people.
That's true. I hadn't even thought of that.
All the side stories that they do all have some sort of disloyalty or dishonesty.
And this teacher too, he's also being disloyal to his students
by locking them in a zombie chamber.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Yeah, but being a witch and that's trying to kill them all.
Yeah, Also, I have to, if we're shouting out the actors that are in the little one-off roles, every time I watch this episode, all I can think is that the kid that's Don, you locked us in or whatever. He was on a show that I used to love called Kyle XY. And I feel like no one knows what that show is anymore, but I used to love that show. So that's my random association for this week.
Okay. My favorite thing is that the actor who plays Don, when he comes up, his first introduction, he's like, hey, what's up? I'm Don. Everyone calls me Don. Don't worry about it. That actor, his name is Don.
Wow.
In real life. So he's playing it cool. He also shows up in crazy everything. Love him. Psych specifically. Okay, sorry.
This probably could have all gone in going meta, but it's fine.
It's fine. We're just
good.
rolling with it.
Rolling with these punches.
Can we talk about Sam and Cas's meeting? Because I want to talk
Oh my
about that.
God.
Yes.
I totally didn't realize that they hadn't met.
Right. Did you not know that they hadn't met before?
I hadn't realized that. No.
Yeah. I
Didn't pick
forgot
that
it until I saw it in the doc, and then I was just like, exclamation points.
Yeah.
It's the reason why I like this episode so much.
It was so cute. Sam was so excited.
And Sam, I've heard a lot about you, Cass. It's cute.
Implying that never mind.
Uh-huh.
Almost as if someone was
His
talking
feelings
about
were
him.
hurt.
But I think it's really interesting you get the contrast. Like Sam is like, I've heard a lot about you, and we know it's like from Dean, whereas Cas is like, I've heard a lot about you, and then immediately states a fact that is clearly not something Dean would have told him about, but it's just like something he knows because he's an angel. And
Yeah.
just
Dean is not the one giving Cas his information.
no, what Cas knows about Sam is very specifically related to his connection to Azazel.
Yeah.
It's not Sam's fault. He was a baby.
No, it's really not Sam's fault. We're not saying it's nice. It's just
Sam is my baby, and I don't like that Cas was mean to him.
Cas is like cold to him in this episode.
Which I
Yeah.
mean, fair.
And he
based
doesn't
on the
even
things
talk
that
to him.
Cas-
He's like cold to him, and then he just talks to Dean. He just kind of ignores
Yeah.
Sam and talks to Dean.
Yeah, it's like Sam's
And
not
he-
even there.
Even when Sam's not in the room, because like when he's talking to Uriel, he's like, we saved him for a reason. He has promise, like completely ignoring the fact that Sam is there and also wants to save this town.
For me, it's the hesitation to shake Sam's hand. It's like Sam's offering the hand and he's just like not doing it. And like part of it might be just like he's an angel and he like just doesn't get the human custom of handshaking, which like fair. It's a weird custom, but
But there's also
Yeah.
like a very much a aloofness that he has that he didn't have with Dean, even in their very
I
first.
feel like he's seen Dean shake someone's hand. I know we've only met Cas a couple times, but I feel like that's happened before.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it maybe has never happened to Cas.
Maybe that's fair.
He's just kind of like, yes,
Yeah, Dean,
that is your
It's not
hand.
like Dean shook Cas's hand. Dean stabbed him. It's not. It's like a.
He didn't have to shake his hand because Cas was too busy grabbing his shoulder and yanking him out of hell. Casual bros do.
Totally platonic bros.
I also noticed that Cas makes not a pop culture reference, but it is like a very human colloquialism. Like when he says, "Glad to hear you've ceased your extracurricular activities." Like that's like a very
very pop culture as far as Cas is concerned.
yeah. And I was a little surprised by it because I've never Cas like in this episode gets a couple of references.
Workshop that like
He also gets when they're sitting on the bench and Dean says the whole line about like the Tet offensive.
But that's a history reference.
But Cas smiles
Cas would
at
know
that.
But Cas, because it's a reference, and I think he knows that Dean's making it in a funny way, and it's supposed to be laughed at. And it's actually a reference he understands for once.
Yeah, it's one of the few times
movie
because
related.
it's that historical reference. But I had to point out the fact that he actually gets Cas to break a smile when he says that. Like,
now,
we
okay,
love to see it.
I'm imagining like a boardroom meeting where Cas and his like supervisors are like sitting down and they're like, okay, you might have to talk to Sam Winchester, and here are some things that you can say. Here are some ways that you can talk about Sam's deal without saying it what Sam's doing. Here are some nice ones. I can just see that like the angels like debating like what you can say. Like that's a big part of my job is like phrasing things for like the public for like websites and stuff, and like it's a struggle to like phrase things. Tracy and her brother they waited 600 years to resurrect Sam Hain.
That's some loyalty.
Yeah, and like one of them was gonna have to die.
Yeah, can you imagine knowing that whole time, but never knowing which of them it was going to be? Or maybe they did.
It seems like Dawn was pretty like convinced it was not gonna be him dying.
Yeah, the loyalty only goes so far in some ways. Like the loyalty goes as far as like, yeah, we're gonna bring him back, but also it's gonna be me or you. Like loyalty to the cause and to Sam Hain more than to the sibling.
Yeah. Because as soon as he got dropped, she moved on real quick.
Yeah, but then didn't. But I'm going to wait till we get to our representation check because I have thoughts about that whole sequence.
Okay.
We'll get there. I also think this is not loyalty related, but I think it's really interesting how Sam is really fascinated with witches and like how witches work and what they do versus Dean being really skeptical of them versus the thing around Halloween where Sam really hates Halloween and Dean really likes Halloween. Like, I just think it's interesting what of the supernatural world interests each of them.
Dean likes the lighthearted stuff that doesn't remind him of the trauma, and Sam likes the research, interesting, fascinating facts.
The stuff that can give him a semblance of control in his life, I think, too.
Sam's also like a little bit more sympathetic to the whole magic deal since he's got his whole psychic thing going on.
Yeah.
He's not really in a place to judge.
It's true.
And Dean seems to weirdly enjoy when they have cases that have zombies. I don't know if he just like what his thing with zombies is, but
Can you blame him?
He really likes movies, and zombies are like a big like horror movie staple.
He likes things that make him feel like an action hero.
Also, it feels like zombies aren't that like common in the world of Supernatural. Like actual like zombies aren't like an everyday occurrence, which I don't know how that's possible in a world with supernatural stuff. But okay, I guess
like
good for everybody
everywhere.
else.
On the note of Sam, this is one thing I really wanted to bring up. Again, not necessarily related to loyalty, but I just truly love that Dean is fighting so hard for Sam to like not lose his faith in this episode, because that whole scene where they're in the car and Sam is just kind of reckoning with the fact that, as they say on Supernatural so often, angels are dicks. Dean, for somebody who doesn't want to have faith in anything, seems to have a lot of loyalty and care about Sam holding on to his faith, because I feel like he associates that as being like part of who Sam is, and he doesn't want to see Sam lose that.
Which is so interesting because we've seen him be really skeptical in past episodes of the fact that Sam has faith. And so for him now, I think post-Hell, he's more sympathetic to the idea of Sam having faith.
So sweet.
And of Sam holding on to that. And I think if there's also a piece of it, if like Sam holds on to faith, that is a protection for Sam against going dark side. I think that might be also part of the reason that's important to Dean. He's like, if Sam still believes in God, if Sam thinks angels are like, if we keep Sam on this side of the line,
then perhaps he will not use his freaky ESPN or whatever.
ESPN.
You heard me.
How Sam was really invested in becoming Dean, and Dean was really invested in not letting Sam become Dean. So I feel like that's also part of it, is like this like Sam needs to keep believing what he's always believed, because that means he's still Sam.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that a lot. I think that's very true.
That was one of the big standouts of this episode in terms of like the rewatch for me, was just being like, oh, he's trying so hard to keep Sam.
This is not at all relevant to like pretty much anything, but while they were having that like scene in the car, Sam was like still holding the hex bag that Cas and Uriel like pulled out of their wall or whatever, and I was like, can we burn that thing?
Why didn't you immediately burn that?
I feel like just because you know it exists and you're holding it doesn't mean it can't hurt you.
Yeah.
Like, well, I have deactivated it with my thought power.
Like, you're basically like, it's the equivalent of like holding a grenade. Like, you're still holding the grenade, and just because you realize
Like,
it's a grenade,
we're safe.
Not even
not how grenades work.
It's a grenade with the detonator in someone else's hand, and you're like,
You're just like,
I don't know when this is gonna go off. Should we just keep holding this? You want to hold some?
like,
Have some?
I feel like
part of
though,
it.
that just goes back to like Sam being fascinated with all the like supernatural stuff.
Very
and
good
the
point.
facts that he's just like, he thinks it's so cool whenever he opens them. He's like, ooh, what's inside here? Not like, oh, this might be dangerous.
it's
Maybe
like a little
I'll
gift
get rid of
bag,
it."
and he's like, what gifts are inside?
Every hex bag is a wonder ball.
He's never heard of Pandora's curse.
If Sam had heard of Pandora's, he'd just be like, but imagine all the cool things that could be in there.
I've
Just
been
think about
watching
it.
Bones lately, which is basically just like straight supernatural, like without the supernatural stuff. But yeah.
Straight supernatural. In what sense?
Oof.
Gotta be specific when you're on a show called Queer.
Except for Angela, who's just very ahead of her time. But like Sam could get a job on like the Jeffersonian like murder solving FBI team, because he's just like pulling apart X bags. He's like, these are the charred bones of a baby, and he like knows what the bones all are, and he's like, this bone's from a child. I'm like,
Like a metatarsal
you
bone
work
or
for
something.
Temperance Brennan. Like,
Again, begging the question of Smamford and Sam. Sam knows too much about very specific things that are very
We should
relevant to the
have,
hunting world.
like an unofficial Smamford counter, and just anytime Sam has obscene knowledge, just tick it off somewhere.
Yeah.
I think it's totally believable in today's setting, because with phones, there can be any number of random instances where, any sorts of these little bits of knowledge that he's got, you could look it up at some point and you could have that little nugget tucked away somewhere. I could totally believe that. But back in 2008,
Yeah.
internet was not as helpful and handy.
Well, exactly. Like they're still operating off of like some of the old message boards and things for their research.
But they
Like,
barely have internet.
yeah.
Yeah, like Sam was into true crime podcasts before they were a thing, and I just love that for him.
I also love
Yeah.
that. Dean also like kind of picks the angels over Sam.
What do you mean?
Yeah, say more.
So they have the whole debate about whether Sam should use his powers or not, and Dean is very insistent that they don't, basically just because Cas told him to. But that Sam
he's
should
been insistent of that, like I think since
he's been
before
hesitant
that,
of
before
it.
Cas.
But like Sam makes a pretty solid argument for using his powers, you know, if it comes to it. He's like, okay, like let's try and stop this witch, but like if we don't stop this witch, then like
what next?
It's gonna be really bad. And like that's the time when you go, okay, like we'll do whatever it takes.
As a last case scenario, sure.
Yeah. And as Dean just like was not on board with that under any circumstances.
Which then leads right into the final confrontation with the witch, where all of Sam's loyalty seems to be not to Dean.
Yeah.
All I could think when that scene was happening, though, sadly, was that Sam Winchester walked so that 11 from Stranger Things could run. It's just like, wait a minute.
And the side by side of the two of them doing their little thing. It's interesting, Noah, that you say like his loyalty isn't to Dean, because like it's interesting to ask like the question of like what is his loyalty to? Because like he even says later on, he's like, yeah, like she was gonna kill us, like I was gonna be dead. But yeah, it's interesting Sam's moments of like going rogue. Like they'll make the decision, but it's happened more than once now that like
in my baby's defense, he did go in with the demon blade first.
He
did try.
I think Sam made 100% the right call here. Like I don't have any problem with the call that Sam made. He made the right call, and like he said, he is absolutely correct. Like if he had not done that, Sam Hain was going to kill him. So like being protecting his life.
Dean wasn't willing to wipe out this town of 1,000 people versus like the like probably millions of people that like would have died if they had to just let Sam Hain go.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they needed to stop him by all means necessary.
And I don't think Dean, like when we see that shot of Dean after it's happened, like it's not like anger that Sam has done this. It's more just like, okay, well now what are going to be the implications of this? As like Sam using his power, it's got implications.
I feel like his face in that moment is almost defeated because like you said, like he knows that
no matter what
Sam did what he had to do, but he's like, it's like that moment when a parent's like, listen, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Like that's the energy of his face in that moment, I think.
Well, because it seems like circumstances keep basically leading to these impossible situations, like specifically for Sam, they keep pushing him towards that line.
Well, like if any other two hunters had stumbled into this situation, which I mean is unlikely to happen because they're them, but like say two other people here, not Sam and Dean, they would just both be dead because other people can't do what Sam can do. Yeah. And like, I will also say that Dean like stumbles into the fight like before Sam's like done doing his thing. And Dean just kind of like stands there and watches. I'm like, you can try and help if you really don't want him to use his powers. Like now's the time to do something.
But what was Dean was supposed to do though? Because like he doesn't have a knife. He doesn't have a knife. He doesn't have anything that can actually hurt Sam Hain. All he's going to do is get himself thrown across the room.
That's what I mean about how he's defeated. Like he feels like, damn, well, what good am I in this situation? Like there's literally nothing more I can do except watch this unfold.
Sam's fate is sort of getting beyond his hands, and you know, think back to season 2.
Dean's not like that generally.
Greatest fear is Sam's fate being beyond Dean's ability to save him.
Yeah.
I'm not like the most Dean coded person, but one thing that Dean and I do have in common is like a lack of impulse control. So I'm just saying, if it was me, I can see myself running into the room without a weapon and like going for the demon blade that's on the ground.
Yep.
Is that probably going to get me killed? Like, yes. But also, like, again, lack of impulse control.
100%.
Sam was struggling. I would have provided a distraction. It would have been fine.
This is going to be a little bit of a turn again, but there was a line that reminded me of another line in another episode when Sam and Dean are talking and Sam is saying, you know, I thought the angels would be different. I thought they'd be righteous. And Dean says they are righteous. That's kind of the problem. Of course, it's not that different than some a-hole who thinks he's on a holy mission. And I was thinking of the line back in, I think it is in Faith.
Yeah.
God save us from half the people who think they're doing God's work.
Oh yeah.
And like there's the same sort of sentiment like from Dean.
I feel like there was probably also a similar line to that in Houses of the Holy as well. I feel like
yes.
You know.
Yeah. I could believe that.
But that was definitely in Faith, that line.
The idea that you think you're righteous doesn't actually make you righteous. And that the idea of like being on a holy mission actually sometimes makes you the least righteous because you'll be blind to every consequence. And like that's the angels is they're like, you know, we're on a mission, but yeah, we can wipe out this whole town and we're not going to blink an eye. We're not going to consider the implications
we're doing
for
our
the town.
father's work.
We're not going to like consider that actually might not be righteous. We're going to say, like Cas says, it's heaven's orders that makes it righteous.
Yeah.
Which is why I'd forgotten that line actually existed as an actual line.
Dean also like used his worth to like the angels / heaven to like get what he wanted. He like tested their loyalty, which I don't think holds up with later seasons, but it's fine. Where he's like, well, you can't destroy this town because you'll just kill me. And like, I figure I'm worth something since you went through all this trouble to like pull me out of hell. And I was like, that's a thing.
Well, because he does say that in the first episode of this season when they're like in a diner or something talking to a demon and he like slaps her like twice or 3 times. And it's just like, you know, you're not going to do anything because somebody wants me alive.
And something that's a lot more powerful than you. And this is just it. Yeah. Him saying it directly to the angels, basically being like, I don't think you'll actually tell me. This feels very much
like the start of Sam and Dean just like not having any real regard for their lives.
Yeah. At this point, they're playing with beings much more powerful than them. So they're like, you know what? Fuck it. We ball hard.
I'm going to do the reckless thing. If somebody really thinks I'm not important, they'll just bring me back. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
No biggie.
This is the move that made Cas cry.
Anything else as far as loyalty goes this episode?
Uriel and Sam have a one-on-one conversation.
Yes.
About where Sam's loyalties should lie, considering that, you know, by using his powers, he's saying his loyalties might lie with his power and with his own decision-making abilities. And his connection with Azazel, and Uriel's like, you should want nothing to do with those powers. Like, Azazel killed your mom and your girlfriend and ruined your life. And
that anniversary is coming up, huh?
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
What a dick. What a dick.
But that did feel like such a conversation to be like, we sort of care about you, but we mostly care about Dean. And like, if you get in the way, like if you don't align yourselves with us and your brother, like we're gonna have problems.
Which bodes really well.
yeah, it seems like Sam's super receptive to that type of message.
Oof.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing that Sam's like pushing back so hard, like when it's Dean who's asking him not to use the powers, is like such a telling thing because Sam and Dean have always been so close.
Yeah, and I mean, since like I think even back to like season 2, after they found out about the demon blood, and after what John says to Dean, they've been like having this like butting up against each other since then, where
I think the real crack was in Malus Maleficarum when Sam stopped Dean from shooting Ruby. Like, I really think that was like the gunshot that shook the world.
It's the moment where like Dean realizes that Sam's loyalties are split. That Sam's not just going to prioritize
their job and their lives, and
that Sam is considering other factors in when and how and why he uses his powers, which is going to continue to be a thing. That's just going to like, that crack is
only gonna grow,
spreading in this episode.
But back to the bench.
Back to the seat on the bench.
Literally, my notes just have at the bottom, just in all the bench. It's such a pivotal moment, I think, for Cas, just to realize, like, oh, he's not necessarily as little toy soldier as we thought he was. And I think it's a really fun seed to be planted based on knowing like what's going to come later.
The idea that Cas is like, I'm going to tell you something, but you can never tell another soul, like that's a level of trust
from an angel.
Dean.
And it's such a human sort of thing to like ask someone to keep a secret for you about your vulnerability.
Like angels are not like secret keepers by nature.
Well, why would you need to be if you were just
you all are orders. Following the same orders?
You don't need to keep any secrets because you don't need to have
you
any
only
doubts.
have the information you need to know, and you no one ever has any doubts ever. Yeah, so like to be like, I have a secret and my secret is that I have doubts, and like to express that I have doubts and I have questions and things I don't know what's right and wrong, and I don't know if you passed or failed this test. Like, oh.
And he's
poetry.
expressing this after earlier in the episode saying, you know, like it's righteous because God said to do it. Like the fact that he's moved from that to like this vulnerable, like
just
he's
over the course of
vulnerable.
like a day after like millions of years.
And he's being vulnerable with Dean in a way that is so interesting for their relationship. Like they've only known each other. This is Halloween. Dean was pulled out of hell on September 18th. It's been like 6 weeks. And already when Cas has this doubt, he's like, I'm going to talk to this human who specifically in every conversation we have pushes against the expectations of family and heaven and God. And like Dean is constantly going, you know, like, what if there's a different way? What if I don't want to follow orders? What if this isn't right? And he like that just crack in Cas is becoming this whole thing. And like, I also noticed Dean's appeal to humanity to teach Cas about free will. I thought that was so interesting. Like he appeals to like people.
How Dean's been like since they met. Like if you think about like Cas is like a bunch of angels died to get you out, and it doesn't matter because you were like important. That was the objective of our mission. Versus Dean was immediately like, you burned out Pamela's eyes and you're wearing some dude. Like
And Cas really does show his admiration, I think, and like what I think is a growing admiration for humans in this episode when he's like, you know, I think that humans are like works of art.
Oh, that was so beautiful.
Yeah, I was just like, yes, baby, sweet son. Yeah, I'm going to throw in a caveat here. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I'm going to do it. If you enjoyed this episode, everyone, Abigail wrote a fic that by the time this episode comes out, it will be out.
That's
and you
true,
should
love.
absolutely go read that fic because holy shit, the vibes.
I do rip off this scene, this bench scene.
You don't rip it off. You write a love letter to it.
I use this scene and some specific experiences and lines and dynamics in this scene for one of the crucial scenes in that story. Thank you, Elayna. That's very kind.
How fan fiction works.
It's called it's called No
That's
Win
true.
Scenario, and it's on AO3. Go read it, and because I know you would never recommend it yourself because you wrote it, but I'm gonna not shut up about it to
Elayna.
everyone because
Thank
I
you.
just finished reading it 2 nights ago, and then I watched this episode, and the whole time I was like, oh my god, this is just like an Abigail's fic. This is just like an Abigail's fic. It's just the vibes are, because it's a fic that's very much about loyalty and, you know, figuring out who's right, who's wrong, like what choices you make. It's good.
This
So
is the most specific details I've had in your fic, and this makes me like so much excited.
I wanted to write about Cas's fall from certainty into doubt.
and his fall into free will. It's a nice slow burn. It's like imagine if you got like 50,000 words of this episode, but Dean is covered in tattoos and rings and the sexual tension is divine. Just check it out. It's great.
Thank you, Elayna. That's very, very kind.
You're welcome. I had to. I'm sorry. It was too relevant.
Fits.
Okay, now, okay.
You're delightful. I can't.
Okay, I
feel like I'm sorry I made your whole brain short circuit. I didn't know I was going to do that until we were halfway through the discussion. And I was like,
Elayna,
I have to.
that was not in the script.
Yeah, it
wasn't in
wasn't.
the document. I didn't know it was going to happen. I do want to ask Noah about how he is thinking about both Sam's powers and the Cas storyline, because as a first viewer, I wanted to ask that before we move into going meta.
I don't know. Honestly, I really just want to see, I want Sam's powers to be developed more in a way that doesn't make him go dark, which I feel like Cas could help them with. If Cas knows something about their powers, because Uriel seems to know some sort of stuff about the abilities and how they affect Sam. So I feel like Cas could team up and instruct them and teach Sam, train Sam.
Who Cas and training Sam is not a concept I've ever thought of before, and I like it.
And I might be feral about it.
A Cas Sam training montage would go so hard.
Oh, I want it in
The
my
show
life.
needs more montages. The
Honestly.
show actually seriously does lack in like montages.
It has opportunities and it doesn't take advantage of them.
It's because they were opposed to Queen. If they had used more Queen songs, they would have more montages.
But yeah, I can't wait to see more. I want Sam and Cas to interact more.
That's exactly what I want all of the time.
Yeah.
Don't worry. That is not much of a spoiler to say you will get more of that.
Good.
Sam Cas bestieism. We love to see it.
The amount that's in the show, I would like to see like 150% more.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're my favorite duo of like main people.
But whenever we get crumbs, they are delectable crumbs.
They're both like super smart, like strategic thinkers until you put them together, and then they're just like idiots.
Chaotic. They're chaotic dumbasses.
Yeah, they just make terrible decisions when put together, like sweet baby boys.
Chaotic brother-in-law is for the win.
Yes. The best honestly in-law energy is Sam and Cas. And it starts right here, with their very strange first interaction. That is a good in-law first interaction.
Could have been worse.
That's a story that's going to be really fun to tell over Thanksgiving dinner, like 20 years.
I know, that's a really funny story to tell at the wedding.
Ah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when I first met Cas, he said...
I thought that he stood for all of the things that God was against. And then he fell in love with my brother, and I realized that was exactly true.
He basically called me an abomination, but...
I love it. Welcome to the family, Cas.
Who's an abomination now?
You want to talk about abominations? I married Dean Winchester.
You thought I was a corrupting influence, but then you fell in love with my brother, and he was the corrupting influence all along.
So we both got played.
I could do this all night, honestly.
I love that we've just written Sam's best man speech
Yeah.
right now.
He's the singular best man. Like they both wanted Sam.
Yeah, he's just the best man.
No, I would argue that Sam is Cass's best man and that Charlie is Dean's best man.
I could see that.
Acceptable.
I could see Sam like going to Dean and being like, just make it Charlie.
Yeah.
Then we solve all these
and
problems.
then being surprised when Cas comes up and is like, I would like you to be my best man. Like it was just
cute.
Oh, so delightful.
So it feels like we've already done it, but I don't know if we've actually said it, but we're going to slide into our going meta section, tracking lore, representation, behind the scenes trivia, and more.
Rep check.
Rep check.
Not a lot to say here, but we do have one.
A lot of disappointment.
Yeah.
I just want to know why the whore line is necessary.
It's
Right
not.
after an incest kiss.
It's really not.
It's
Yeah.
really
Oh,
like
God.
we already knew this dude was bad. We didn't need to know that he's also assaulty.
This is our second. Someone dies and then gets possessed by a demon and then kisses a family member.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Why is that a trope?
Like it's only been 4 episodes since the last one.
If I had a nickel,
It's only been 4 episodes.
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's
It's weird that it happened twice.
I forgot about
Someone
this.
on the network needs to like rein them in. Like I know that like they tried on 403, like they like called Eric Kripke up and were like, do you need Mary and Samuel? Like I know we get that it's a demon, but like do you need that kiss to happen? And Eric Kripke was like, yes, absolutely. But like,
Wait, really?
yeah. Yeah.
I could have lived my whole life without that information.
Yeah, the network was like, we don't like this and we don't think other people are gonna like it. And then
They were correct.
Eric Kripke
Yeah.
was like, no, it needs to happen. And then like literally like 4 episodes later, I'm like, did the network didn't like call back?
And be like, you needed this happen. Honestly, everything that I know about Eric Kripke, I know without my consent. Everything I know about
That's accurate.
But like, okay, like it's icky, but I could like I can see like we need a demon deal to occur. The demons in
Yeah.
Samuel, whatever. In
Someone-
this episode, it's not required.
Exactly.
No.
It's
Exactly.
not like gratuitous. It's for nothing. It does remind me of a later scene, but it's for nothing.
Yeah, it's just gross.
lots of body shaming in this episode as well.
Oh
Unnecessary.
yeah, Dean really like just decided to take it out on some poor kid who seems to be like spending his Halloween like lurking around a motel. Like who knows where that kid's parents are? Like that's the
Yeah.
last thing he needs is Dean Winchester.
Also,
Picking
like,
on him.
this is like one of the few times where Dean's interaction with the child makes me furious. Like most of the time, I'm like, he has good interactions with children.
He's with a child.
This one, I'm like, please stop.
Like, what's
Leave
wrong
this poor
with you?
child alone. Just
Alone.
give this poor child some chocolate and let him be on his way.
He gets
Yeah.
his.
Also, like
his-
the only reason that Dean himself is not like morbidly obese is that he has plot armor. Like that's the only reason.
Yeah. Because here's the thing that bothered me about that. He's sitting there like, oh, do you need more candy? Whatever. Not 5 minutes ago, you were sitting there with your stomach about to burst out of your body because you had like 47 pieces. Yeah.
And he literally just said, Sam's like, oh, we got candy. He's like, no, we don't. And it's gone. Chill. You're eating so much.
Dick move.
Don't.
Dean's like complaining because his stomach hurts, and he like literally like just finished like unwrapping a piece of candy. Like, you can stop.
Though I do think that piece I do attribute to like him eating until he's sick. I do attribute to like being chronically malnourished. It was very in
character.
Yeah.
But, like,
it's very like,
don't be mean to children about it.
Yeah, exactly. The being mean to the child about it is like inexcusable. The whole him eating till he's sick, I'm like way more sympathetic to, because I think we have a lot of good character reasons why that's the case.
Yeah, getting out of hell and wanting to gorge yourself on sweets is totally understandable.
And having food when you're not sure when you're next going to get food.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that poor child. Also, that child's outfit, that child's costume was great.
Oh man, that was a great costume.
I did love for a costume like that as a child. Like,
he is hanging around a motel room with no parents in sight, which does make me concerned about where his parents are. But like, also like, this costume is badass. Like, obviously somebody cared enough to acquire this costume or like build it in some way. It looks homemade. It looks amazing.
It's one of those motels where the doors are all like, it maybe he's just like wandering around outside and his parents are close by. Maybe
they work at the motel,
or they're just on like a cheap vacation and staying in a motel.
I do enjoy though how he screams astronaut. Like that. I do like
the
that.
The kid
bit.
Gets his good revenge on Dean by throwing the ice cream on it. That stuff's sticky. It's gonna be annoying. Yeah, he got some good revenge.
Honestly,
I did write myself a note that just says trans Dean rights, and it took me a minute to remember what that was.
Okay, I know what we're referencing. Thank you for remembering this.
Yes.
Thank you.
I caught that as well.
So mad in like an hour after we're done recording if we had not talked about this. Please talk about it.
But yeah, when they're like, Sam's like, why would like someone like want to be like come back as like a teenage cheerleader? Dude's like, well, that's what I would want to do. And I was
he said, that's the dream.
The dream.
And then he just looks off wistfully like,
my favorite thing is that Dean can be canonically argued to be trans in any direction. And it works.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
I like trans Winchester headcanon so much. They make me happy. I like trans Dean. I like trans Sam. They're both delightful.
Yeah. Cas as well. I like non-binary agender Cas.
Yeah, I don't really think of Cas as having a gender most of the time.
I mean, he's a multi-dimensional wave of light.
Wavelength of celestial
Hard to have a gender when that's the reality. Anyway,
aren't we all just celestial wavelengths of gender stuff?
That's also true.
I'll see myself out.
Is there any other lore, lost canon, anything anyone wants to talk about?
This is in the doc. I'm not sure who put it there, but I am curious to ask Noah, what do you think Dean remembers from hell after the illusions that we get to him maybe remembering more than we think?
I mean, he's got to remember a lot. Enough that it scares him. And
that he was lying to Sam about it.
And lying to Sam about it for a couple, months at this point? Weeks? At this.
It's
6 weeks. Again, 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because Halloween.
They should really stop lying to each other. I know that they won't anytime soon, if
they
ever,
need to
but
just
they really just need to stop.
Yeah. He's got to remember. I bet he remembers specific demons that he interacted with down there. And there's probably some sort of trauma that'll come back up when someone reappears and is like, oh, hey, remember me, bitch? Bet you thought you seen the last of me. Something like that.
I need them to say that exact line or it's not canon.
Mm-hmm. I think that's basically, a lot of screams. When he was looking at that mask in this episode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he like freaked out a little bit.
Yeah, which is one of the first times we've seen him like have a problem with the like visual element of the supernatural.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I think it was played really nicely too, because like for a second he kind of panics thinking like, remind me of what? Like he thinks that Sam knows, and then being like, being in high school and being angsty and being like, oh yeah, sure that.
Oh, Sam.
Totally.
Subtle, so subtle. One other thing I noticed as far as lore is because we meet Uriel as an angel, and he is talking about a city that he purged before. Got to be Sodom and Gomorrah is
probably Uriel.
Basically, Yeah, the only thing it could be really referring to, cities that get destroyed because of the sheer amount of shitty people in them.
Which is such an interesting parallel to make, because in this episode, it's not like shitty people.
No, it's not. But the barter that Dean makes, even if there's a few people in there that are good, like even if there's some little bit of good in them, is exactly what the biblical story entails. Is that,
yeah.
well,
It
even if
does,
there's
yeah.
10 good men, even if there's 5 good men, he narrows it down, sees how low they'll accept. And they don't accept much in this one. Uriel has learned from that experience. And so he's not compromising near as much.
That's actually such a fascinating connection
I
there.
love a quality biblical discussion.
Thanks, Sunday school.
Gotta have some use for that religious trauma up in here.
Ooh. There's one thing that's certain about all of us on this show. It's that we're gay and there's religious trauma.
One other note, the only other note I have, and this is more of a behind the scenes thing, is that this episode was kind of crucial in solidifying Misha Collins would have a longer arc than originally planned for his character. This episode is really key in extending Cass's storyline on the show, because they realize the chemistry between him and Dean, the chemistry in this, like the story
had a
elements.
massive butterfly effect on my life.
Yeah.
My
In
life
2008.
specifically, because Misha Collins almost got cast as Prince Charming in ABC show Once Upon a Time.
Did he
What?
really?
Mhm.
Really? I didn't know that.
Today,
But then he got
years
cast on
old.
Supernatural, so they hired Josh Dallas. It was supposed to be a one-off character for Josh Dallas / Misha, like whichever one they hired. But then Josh Dallas was so good.
But that's why Josh Dallas stepped down as Farandrol and Thor. So like
Yes.
it's a super rip-off.
Oh my gosh.
he
Because
was
then they got
so
Zachary
good
Levi.
as Prince Charming, and he had so much chemistry with Jennifer Goodwin that they wrote his
They
character
got
past
married,
the pilot,
so-
and they got married in real life and have 2 kids now. So that's all Misha's fault.
Thank Misha Collins for his children.
It's all no. It's really Misha and Dean having
Yeah,
and
it is
Jensen
really
having
like
that
Jensen
raw
and Misha,
chemistry.
like yeah,
Mm.
are the reason that Jennifer Goodwin and Josh Dallas have 2 kids now. And
You're so
Once Upon a
welcome.
Time had like Prince Charming and Snow White for 6 seasons.
Damn.
Wow.
And why Zachary Levi
They,
is just
they were the one of the few reasons I kept watching
Yes,
that show.
absolutely.
That
Well,
show got
Is there any final notes that anyone wants to make on the episode in general?
I don't think so. I did not organize my notes, so they're a hot mess, but I feel like we talked about everything I wanted to talk about.
I find that I loved this episode way more than I remember loving this episode, and that was that's always a nice feeling.
yeah, it was fun. When Dawn locks them in the little zombie room and baby daddy guy walks up, John Luke, and says, "Yo, Dawn, you locked us in the most sitcom way possible." It's exactly like he does on Baby Daddy.
I want sitcom vibes. I want more sitcom stuff in Supernatural.
Every time Supernatural leans into being more sitcom-y, it's just endlessly funny. When it plays with genre, I think is some of the moments the show becomes the most interesting.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure. And we talked about that a lot last episode with like Monster, or not last episode, but 2 episodes ago with Monster Movie.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
exactly.
But yeah, this was like 4 years before Baby Daddy even
Yeah.
started. Like
But it was
Way
after
back.
Kyle XY, okay? The show that no one else knows. It's about an alien kid who didn't have a belly button. Look it up. It was good.
No, I remember the non-belly button. I do remember that. There's some trauma there.
You're not selling this show very well. Like,
No.
I'm not. No. I didn't say it was a good show. I said it was a show that I watched.
Well, now we can move into our last and favorite part of the episode, which is our character blessings. We pick a little character in the episode that we connected to and call them out, support them for something they did this episode or some attribute that we appreciated. Anyone want to get started? KJ, who did you want to bless this week?
I was gonna say Sam because Cass hurt his feelings, but I think I'm actually just gonna go with Cass. Partly because he hurt Sam's feelings, but also because he's got a lot of thinking to do, and I feel like he could use some support.
Well,
Fair.
if you're going with Cass, then I'll go with Sam. It sucks to be excited about meeting someone and then have them be a dick to you. That's not a fun feeling.
No, I felt bad for him.
I feel for Sam in that moment. Like, Cas doesn't mean it badly, but Sam takes it really hard, and that sucks.
Well, I was going to go with a goofy one because I thought for sure the person that I actually wanted to bless would get blessed, and then they didn't. So I'm going to do two. My first one that I have in the doc is the mom from the beginning, because damn, she was just trying to take her kid upstairs and then, just got caught in the crossfires of this, and that's a damn shame.
Yeah.
But also, I would like to bless Dean for his moment at the end and just that like helplessness that he feels in seeing Sam like use these powers that he's so worried about. He really just, it's one of those moments where you can just tell in his expression that he's afraid he's losing his brother, and those moments always really hit me in the feels. So yeah, those are my two.
That's
Nicely
great.
done. Nicely done.
Well, that's all that we have today. So if you enjoyed this episode, you can make sure you are subscribed to Saving People Queering Things wherever you listen to your podcast, and share our show with your friends. We're so glad that you are here. Thank you, KJ, for joining us today. Where can people find you on the internet?
We're like Supernatural Opinions Podcast pretty much anywhere, like at SPN Opinions on Twitter, and yeah, it's a good time. We're into season 3, I think, by the time this comes out. So
Yeah.
Dang.
that'll be
Chugging right
exciting.
along.
Yeah.
Love that.
Thanks so much for coming on. It's always a blast.
I'm always so happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you.
Well, you guys can find links to all of our social media and join our Discord server through our website, queeringthingspodcast.com.
And be sure to ride along with us next week as we discover episode 8, Wishful Thinking, through the theme of necessity.
Thank you all for coming along for the ride, and we wish you a peaceful road until we meet again.